During Christmas dinner, my daughter-in-law spat on my plate and shouted, "You deserve it, loser!" And my son clapped his hands as if it were a show. They thought they could humiliate me without consequences. But when I silently took out my phone and wrote, "Let's start the plan," their lives would never be the same again. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are listening in the comments. The wine bottle sat on my kitchen counter, mocking me with its price tag still attached. $45 for an Oregon Pinot Noir. I'd picked it carefully from the selection at Eastside Wine and Spirits, remembering how Joel used to love those weekend trips to Willamette Valley wineries when he was younger. That was before Goldie. My phone buzzed. Joel's name lit up the screen. "Dad, don't be late tonight. 7 sharp." His voice carried that edge I'd grown to recognize over the past 2 years. Not quite hostile, but not warm either. Transactional. "I'll be there, son." "Good." Goldie's making her special roast. She spent $200 on ingredients. $200. I wondered if he remembered the $15,000 I'd quietly transferred to his account 3 years ago when he'd called, panicked about wedding costs, or the $22,000 for their down payment on the condo in Hawthorne District. But I didn't mention it. I never did. "See you at 7, I said. The line went dead before I could say goodbye. I stood in my modest kitchen on S.E. Belmont Street, looking at the wrapped gifts on my dining table. $800 total. A designer wallet for Joel from Nordstrom. A Kate Spade purse for Goldie, because she'd mentioned wanting one last Thanksgiving. I'd saved for 3 months, setting aside portions of my pension. 30 years teaching history at Franklin High School had taught me many things. Patience, observation, the ability to read people. But it hadn't prepared me for watching my son transform into someone I barely recognized. I remember Joel at 17, sprawled across this same dining table with architecture books spread everywhere. "Dad, look at this Frank Lloyd Wright design. Someday, I'm going to build houses that matter." His eyes had sparkled with genuine passion. Now, he managed logistics paperwork at a freight company downtown, pulling $68,000 a year and spending like he made twice that. The Tesla Model 3 in his parking spot cost more than my entire year's pension. I'd seen the credit card statement he'd left on my coffee table last month when they'd visited. $45,000 in debt, but I hadn't said anything. What right did I have? The drive to their condo took 20 minutes through evening traffic. Southeast Portland looked beautiful in December. Houses decorated with lights, families visible through windows. I pulled into visitor parking at 6:55. Goldie answered the door. She wore a dress that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget, her blonde hair styled perfectly. "Amos, you're here." Not, "Hi, Dad." Not even, "Hello." Just my first name, flat and dismissive. "Evening, Goldie. You look lovely." She stepped aside without responding, already turning away. The condo smelled amazing. Roasted meat, herbs, something expensive. Their living room showcased new furniture I hadn't seen before. A sectional couch that looked straight out of a West Elm catalog, probably $5,000, minimum. Joel emerged from the kitchen, phone in hand. He glanced up briefly. "Hey, Dad, put your stuff anywhere." I set the wine and gifts on their granite counter. $800, placed next to a KitchenAid mixer still in its box. $400, according to the tag I could see. "I brought some wine, that Pinot Noir you used to enjoy." Goldie picked up the bottle, examined it like a judge at a competition, then set it down with a subtle snort. "Oregon Pinot. How thoughtful. We usually drink California cabs now, more sophisticated." "I didn't know you developed such refined tastes," I said evenly. "Well, some people evolve, Amos." She stressed my name again. "Some people stay stuck in the past." Joel said nothing. He scrolled through his phone, occasionally laughing at something on the screen. Not at his wife's comment, not at anything in the room. Just absent. We sat down to dinner at their expensive dining table. The food was indeed spectacular. Goldie had talent in the kitchen, I'd give her that. But the atmosphere felt like sitting in a freezer. "So, Dad," Joel said between bites, "still doing those consultation things?" "Some. I help people with property questions when they ask." Goldie laughed. It wasn't a pleasant sound. "Consultations. That's adorable. Joel's dad, you paid someone's mortgage while your father consulted. That's hilarious." Joel's lips twitched. Not quite a smile, but close enough to hurt. I thought about the portfolio Eric Thornton had helped me build over 25 years, 4 properties across Portland, total value approaching $2.8 million, the careful investments, the rental income streams, the quiet wealth I'd accumulated while living modestly, saving for retirement, planning to leave it all to my son. But they didn't know. They saw a retired teacher in a small house, driving a 10-year-old Honda Civic, shopping at Fred Meyer with coupons. "I do what I can," I said simply. The evening deteriorated from there. Every comment from Goldie carried barbs. Every silence from Joel felt like endorsement. When I tried to reminisce about Joel's childhood, the camping trips to Crater Lake, the science fair projects we'd built together, Goldie cut me off. "God, enough with the nostalgia. We're trying to have a nice dinner, not a therapy session." I finished my meal in silence, watching my son avoid eye contact. The Joel I'd raised would have defended me, would have told his wife to show respect. But that Joel had vanished, replaced by this hollow version who valued designer furniture over family. After dessert, I reached into my jacket pocket. The envelope contained $3,000 in cash. I'd withdrawn it from my savings specifically for this, their Christmas gift. Despite everything, despite the coldness, despite knowing they'd probably spend it on more useless luxuries, I wanted to give them something meaningful. I placed the envelope on the table. Goldie snatched it immediately, opened it, counted the bills. Her eyes widened slightly, the first genuine emotion I'd seen all evening. "Finally," she said, "something actually useful from you." My hand froze halfway to my water glass. "Excuse me?" "Oh, don't play innocent, Amos." She stood up, holding the cash. "This barely covers half of what you owe us anyway." "Owe you?" "For putting up with you. For including you in our lives when you've never given Joel the opportunities he deserved. You were a teacher. A teacher. Do you know how embarrassing that is when people ask what my father-in-law does? Oh, he taught high school history. Pathetic." The room went silent. Even Joel looked uncomfortable now, shifting in his seat. I stood slowly, my chair scraping against their hardwood floors. "I see," I said quietly. And that's when Goldie walked over to my plate, the plate I'd just eaten from, her supposedly special Christmas dinner, and spat directly into it. "That's what you deserve, you failure, for never giving your son a real life." The saliva glistened on the remaining gravy. Time seemed to stop. 62 years of life, 30 years of teaching, 25 years of careful planning, 3 years of watching my son slip away. All of it crystallized into this single moment. I looked at Joel, waited for him to say something, anything, defend his father, show some shred of the boy I'd raised. Instead, he stood up and clapped, slow, deliberate applause, like he'd just watched a performance he approved of. "Dad, come on, don't be dramatic. Goldie's right. You could have done more with your life. Could have given me more advantages. Just accept it and move on." Something inside me went very still, very cold, very clear. I pulled out my phone without a word, typed a single message to Eric Thornton, my attorney, my former student, the man who'd helped me prepare for exactly this possibility over the past 6 months. 3 words. Begin the plan. I hit send. Then I picked up my jacket, walked to their door, and left without looking back. Behind me, Joel's voice followed into the hallway. "Dad, come back here. You just insulted my wife by walking out." I kept walking. The December air felt clean on my face as I drove home through Portland streets, past the decorated houses, past the happy families I could see through lit windows. My phone buzzed with Eric's reply. "Confirmed. Monday morning we start. This is going to be something they'll never forget." I smiled for the first time that evening. They had no idea what was coming, no idea who I really was, no idea what I'd built, no idea how carefully I'd documented everything over the past 3 years. Every unreturned loan, every manipulative text, every promise broken. Most importantly, they had no idea that the biggest mistake they'd ever made wasn't spitting in my dinner or calling me a failure. It was clapping. That applause would cost them everything. The drive home felt longer than usual. My hands gripped the steering wheel steady enough, but my mind replayed that sound. Joel's hands clapping together, over and over, like a broken record I couldn't turn off. I pulled into my driveway on SE Belmont just after 9. The neighborhood was quiet, Christmas lights twinkling on porches up and down the street. Mrs. Chen next door had her usual extravagant display running. Normal people doing normal things on a normal December evening. Except nothing felt normal anymore. Inside, I didn't bother turning on lights. Just sat in my old recliner, the one I'd bought secondhand 15 years ago, and let the darkness settle around me. My phone screen glowed with Eric's message still visible. Confirmed. Monday morning, we start. Monday was 3 days away. 3 days to remember why I was doing this. 3 days to make sure I had the stomach for what came next. My mind drifted back without permission. Joel at 8 years old, standing in this same living room with a trophy from his school science fair. First place. He'd built a model showing how earthquakes worked, spent weeks perfecting it. Dad, you really think I could be an engineer? His face had been so full of hope. You can be anything you want, son. Anything. I'd meant it then, believed it completely. At 16, when his mother passed, Joel had cried in my arms for hours. Don't leave me too, Dad. Promise you won't leave. I'd held him, made that promise, meant every word. The wedding 3 years ago had cost me $15,000. Not because I had to pay, Goldie's parents were supposed to handle it. But they'd declared bankruptcy 2 months before the ceremony, and Joel had called me, desperate. Dad, I can't cancel. Goldie will never forgive me. Please. I'd withdrawn the money from my investment account the next day. Didn't even hesitate. The down payment for their condo, $22,000. Just a loan, Dad. We'll pay you back within a year. I swear. That was 2 years ago now. The car repairs, the medical bills Goldie had forgotten to pay. The credit card debt Joel had mentioned just this once. $94,000 total over 3 years. Not 1 cent returned. But money wasn't the wound that cut deepest. Money I could recover. Time I couldn't. Every Sunday dinner I'd cooked for them, watching Goldie pick at the food like it disgusted her. Every birthday they'd forgotten until the day after. Every phone call that went straight to voicemail until they needed something. The contempt had grown so gradually, I'd almost convinced myself I was imagining it until tonight. Until the spit in my plate. Until my son applauded. My phone buzzed. Joel's name appeared. I stared at it for 3 rings. 4, 5, voicemail. 30 seconds later, a text. Dad, you embarrassed me in front of my wife. You owe Goldie an apology. She's very upset. Call me back now. I typed a response slowly, deliberately. No, just that. 1 word. Send. 3 dots appeared immediately. Disappeared, appeared again. Then, what do you mean no? Get back here and apologize like an adult. I set the phone face down on the side table and closed my eyes. Sleep didn't come easily that night. When it did, I dreamed of Joel at 12, helping me paint this house during summer vacation. We'd laughed, made jokes, ate pizza on the front porch. Simple, good, real. Morning light filtered through my bedroom window too early. Saturday. The weekend stretched ahead, and for the first time in years, I had no plans to visit Joel, no Sunday dinner to prepare, no phone calls to expect. Freedom felt strange, unsettling. Right. I made coffee, checked my email. Eric had sent a detailed message at 6:30 a.m. The man never slept when working on a case. The subject line read, Thornton and Associates, Palmer, Case File Summary. Inside were scanned documents, copies of every bank transfer I'd made to Joel's account, screenshots of text messages where Joel called them loans and promised repayment, email chains discussing the wedding costs, the down payment, every expense, 3 years of evidence meticulously organized. Eric's note at the bottom. Amos, I've reviewed everything twice. In Oregon, verbal agreements for loans over $1,000 can be enforced if there's documented proof of intent to repay. Your text messages alone establish clear debtor-creditor relationship. The wedding and down payment transfers include your bank notes stating, loan to Joel Palmer. We have a strong case, but are you absolutely certain you want to proceed? This will damage your relationship with your son, possibly permanently. Was I certain? I thought about last night. The spit, the applause. I typed back, I'm certain. My relationship with my son died last night. I'm just making it official. The response came within minutes. Understood. I'll have the initial demand letter ready by Monday. We'll send it certified mail to their condo address. Also, I did some preliminary research. Joel and Goldie recently applied for a mortgage at First Tech Federal Credit Union. Application for $720,000 to purchase a house in Alameda Ridge. They listed you as a potential co-signer on the preliminary forms. I felt my jaw tighten. They were planning to use my credit, my reputation, without even asking. Did they forge my signature? I typed. Not yet, but the loan officer noted they'd need your formal approval by January 15th. They seemed confident you'd agree. Of course they were confident. I'd never said no before. Can we stop it? I asked. Already done. I contacted the bank this morning as your attorney, informed them you have not and will not co-sign any loans for Joel Palmer. Also mentioned there's an ongoing financial dispute. The bank will flag their application. I smiled into my coffee cup. Thank you, Eric. My pleasure. You paid for my undergraduate textbooks when I couldn't afford them sophomore year. You wrote my law school recommendation letter. You attended my bar admission ceremony when my own father didn't. I owe you more than legal services, Amos. I owe you my career. We'd been teacher and student 15 years ago. Now we were something more. Allies in a war I hadn't wanted but couldn't avoid. Saturday passed slowly. I cleaned my house, organized old files, went through photo albums I hadn't opened in years. Joel as a baby. Joel learning to ride a bike. Joel graduating high school, college, standing beside me with his diploma. When had it all gone wrong? Sunday morning, my phone rang at 7 a.m. Joel again. This time I answered. Dad, what the hell did you do? His voice was sharp, panicked. Good morning to you too, son. Don't good morning me. First Tech called yesterday. Said our mortgage application is flagged. Something about a financial dispute. What did you tell them? I sipped my coffee, utterly calm. I told them the truth, that I won't be co-signing any loans for you. You, what? When did we ask you to co-sign? You didn't ask, you assumed. Big difference. Silence. Then Goldie's voice in the background, shrill. Let me talk to him. Rustling sounds. Then Goldie's fury came through crystal clear. Listen here, old man. You don't get to sabotage our future because your feelings got hurt. Joel is your son. You're supposed to help him. I've helped him to the tune of $94,000 over 3 years, I said quietly. Not $1 repaid. Help has limits, Goldie. You just found mine. 94? That's insane. We don't owe you anything. Those were gifts. Interesting. Because Joel's text messages say otherwise. The word loan appears 47 times in our conversations. I counted. Dead silence. You counted? Joel's voice now, uncertain. I'm a retired teacher, son. Details are my specialty. Always have been. Dad, come on. This is ridiculous. So we owe you some money. We'll pay you back eventually. But blocking our mortgage? That's low. We need that house. Then you should have thought about treating me with basic respect. But you didn't. So here we are. Goldie grabbed the phone again. You spiteful bastard. We'll sue you. We'll sue me for what? Not co-signing a loan? Good luck with that. Oregon law is quite clear on voluntary financial obligations. I could hear her breathing, fast and angry. Joel said something I couldn't make out. Then the line went dead. I set my phone down and realized my hands were shaking. Not from fear, from something else. Something that felt dangerously close to satisfaction. This was just the beginning, the opening move, and they had no idea what was coming next. Monday morning would bring the formal demand letter, $94,000, documented and legally enforceable. They'd panic, scramble, probably try to negotiate. But I wasn't interested in negotiation anymore. I walked to my study, opened the safe hidden behind a bookshelf. Inside were property deeds, investment statements, documents showing the wealth I'd quietly accumulated over 25 years of careful planning. $2.8 million in real estate alone. Another $400,000 in retirement accounts. A portfolio that would have made Joel's inheritance substantial, if he'd earned it. The new will Eric had prepared sat on top. Everything now designated for charitable foundations, educational scholarships, community programs. Joel would receive $50,000, a token, a reminder of what he'd lost. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Mr. Palmer, this is Inez Daniels, your neighbor 2 houses down. I saw your car was home and wanted to check in. Hope you're doing well after the holidays. Also, funny thing, I ran into your son and his wife at New Seasons Market yesterday. They seem stressed. Is everything okay? Inez, the real estate agent I'd helped pro bono last year when she'd had questions about property taxes. Single mother, 2 kids, struggling to make ends meet. I'd spent hours walking her through legal options, never charged a cent. I typed back, "Everything's fine, Inez. Thank you for asking. How are your children?" "They're wonderful. Actually, your son's wife was quite chatty at the store. Mentioned something about buying a house in Alameda Ridge. I didn't know you were helping them with such a big purchase." So Goldie was already spreading narratives, probably telling people I was bankrolling their dream home. "Plans change," I wrote simply. "Well, if they need any real estate advice, I'm happy to help. Though between you and me, Alameda Ridge is expensive. Those houses run $850,000 minimum. I hope they know what they're getting into financially. $850,000 on their combined income of $120,000, with $45,000 in credit card debt and car loans. They were drowning and didn't even know it yet. I appreciate your concern, Inez. They're adults. They'll figure it out. Or they wouldn't. Either way, it was no longer my problem. Sunday evening, I cooked myself a simple dinner, pasta with marinara sauce, garlic bread, a glass of that Oregon Pinot Noir I'd brought to their condo. It tasted better alone in my quiet kitchen than it would have at their table. My phone stayed silent. No apologies, no acknowledgement of anything beyond their inconvenience. Perfect. Monday would change everything. The letter would arrive. The legal reality would hit them like a freight truck. And this carefully constructed facade they'd built, the successful young couple, the rising professionals, the deserving children, would start cracking. I raised my wine glass to the empty room. "To consequences," I said aloud, "and to sons who forget where they came from." The wine was excellent. Oregon really did make good Pinot Noir. Goldie just never had the taste to appreciate it. Monday morning arrived cold and clear. I woke at 6, made breakfast, and watched the sunrise paint my kitchen walls orange and gold. Somewhere across town, a certified letter was being loaded onto a mail truck, headed for a condo in Hawthorne District. Eric had texted me the tracking number at 5:30 a.m. The man was relentless when he worked a case. I spent the morning organizing my study, pulling out files I hadn't touched in years, property deeds from my consulting work, records of rental agreements for the 4 buildings I owned across Portland, 2 small apartment complexes in Sellwood, a duplex near Reed College, and a commercial space in the Pearl District that housed a coffee shop and bookstore. Total monthly income, $12,000 minus expenses and property management fees. Net around $8,000 monthly, $96,000 yearly passive income. I'd accumulated quietly while teaching high school and living on my pension. Joel didn't know. Goldie certainly didn't know. To them, I was just a retired teacher scraping by on a fixed income. The irony tasted sweet. Around 10 a.m., my phone rang. Unknown number with a local area code. "Mr. Palmer, this is Derek Chen from First Tech Federal Credit Union." Not Mrs. Chen, the neighbor. No relation, just unfortunate timing with the surname. "I'm calling about Joel Palmer's mortgage application. We need to clarify some information. I've already informed my attorney that I won't be participating in any loan applications for my son." "Yes, sir, we received that communication. However, Mr. Palmer submitted documents this morning claiming you'd verbally agreed to gift him $50,000 toward the down payment. He's requesting we accept a signed affidavit from you confirming this." My grip tightened on the phone. "I've made no such agreement, verbal or otherwise." "I see, that's concerning." Mr. Palmer seemed quite certain. He mentioned you discussed it at a recent family dinner. The Christmas dinner, where Goldie had spit in my food and Joel had applauded. That family dinner. "Mr. Chen, my son is mistaken, or lying. I'll leave you to determine which, but under no circumstances am I gifting or lending any money for his house purchase." Silence on the other end. Then, "Understood, sir. Thank you for clarifying. This will unfortunately impact their loan approval timeline significantly." "Good. Let it impact. Let it crash and burn." "One more thing," I added. "If Joel continues to claim I've made financial commitments I haven't, you may want to document that. False statements on loan applications are federal crimes." "Yes, sir, we're aware. Thank you for your time." I hung up, feeling something I hadn't experienced in years. Control. Real, actual control over my own life and resources. By noon, I received a text from Eric. Letter delivered, signed for by Goldie Palmer at 11:47 a.m. Clock is ticking. 47 minutes ago, Goldie had opened an envelope from Thornton & Associates. She'd read the formal demand for $94,000, backed by documentation, legal precedent, and a 14-day deadline. I imagined her face going pale, her hands shaking, running to show Joel. My phone stayed quiet for exactly 23 minutes. Then it exploded. 7 missed calls from Joel in 2 minutes, 3 from Goldie. Text messages flooding in so fast, my phone vibrated continuously. Call me now. Dad, this is insane. You can't be serious. We'll fight this. I'm calling a lawyer. This is harassment. How dare you? I read them all calmly, sipping tea in my kitchen. Didn't respond to a single one. The doorbell rang at 1:15. I looked through the peephole. Joel stood on my porch, red-faced, practically vibrating with anger. I didn't open the door. Dad, I know you're home. Your car's in the driveway. He pounded on the wood. Open up! We need to talk about this ridiculous letter. From my position behind the door, I called out. All communication goes through my attorney now. His number is on the letterhead. Are you kidding me? I'm your son. Yes, and you applauded when your wife spit in my dinner. So now we communicate through lawyers. Seems appropriate. That's what this is about? You're destroying our lives over one bad night? One bad night. 3 years of using me like an ATM, reduced to one bad night. Joel, go home. You have 14 days to respond to the demand letter. I suggest you use that time wisely. More pounding. This is extortion. We don't have $94,000. Then you shouldn't have borrowed it. Those were gifts. You gave us that money. Your text messages say otherwise. Thanks for the loan, Dad. We'll pay you back next month, promise. Just need to borrow a bit more. Want me to read them all out loud? Silence, then. You're recording our conversation, aren't you? You sneaky. Joel, go home. Talk to a lawyer, preferably one you can actually afford. His footsteps retreated down the porch stairs. Car door slammed. Engine roared to life with more force than necessary. Tires squealed as he pulled away. I watched through the window as his Tesla disappeared down S.E. Belmont Street, probably leaving rubber marks on the pavement. The car he'd bought with borrowed money, trying to impress colleagues who didn't care. My phone rang again. This time I recognized the number, Joel's mother-in-law, Goldie's mother. We'd met twice, both times at weddings. Curiosity made me answer. Amos, this is Patricia, Goldie's mother. Her voice was tight, controlled. I just got off the phone with my daughter. She's hysterical. Says you're suing them? Not suing, requesting repayment of documented loans. There's a difference. Amos, they're young. They made mistakes. Surely we can work this out like family? Family doesn't spit in each other's dinner, Patricia. Sharp intake of breath. She told me about that. Said it was a moment of frustration after you'd been passive-aggressive all evening. Of course Goldie had reframed it, made herself the victim. Patricia, I respect that you're trying to help your daughter, but this situation is between Joel, Goldie, and me. Well, and our lawyers now. I suggest you stay out of it. They don't have $94,000. You're asking the impossible. Then they'll need to make a payment plan, or sell assets, or declare bankruptcy. Those are their options. You'd bankrupt your own son? He bankrupted our relationship first. I'm just balancing the books. I hung up before she could respond. The rest of Monday passed in a strange calm. More calls, all ignored. More texts, all read but unanswered. By evening, my voicemail was full. I deleted everything without listening. Tuesday morning brought a different kind of contact. An email from someone named Marcus Webb, attorney at law, representing Joel and Goldie Palmer. The email signature listed a small firm in Gresham I'd never heard of. The message was professionally cold. Mr. Palmer, we represent your son and daughter-in-law in the matter of your demand letter dated December 23rd. Our clients dispute the characterization of funds received as loans and maintain these were gifts made voluntarily without expectation of repayment. We request you withdraw your demand immediately or face counterclaims for harassment and emotional distress. Regards, Marcus Webb, Esquire. I forwarded it to Eric with one sentence. They found a lawyer. Thoughts? His response came within 5 minutes. Marcus Webb graduated bottom quartile from a 4th-tier law school, works on contingency and payment plans. This is who they could afford. I'll draft a response demonstrating why their position is legally baseless. Don't worry, this guy is out of his depth. Wednesday afternoon, I met Eric at Stumptown Coffee on Division Street. He arrived with a leather portfolio, looking every inch the successful attorney he'd become. "They're panicking," he said, sliding into the booth across from me. "Webb called my office this morning, tried to negotiate, offered $10,000 now, rest in small payments over time. I told him to submit any settlement offers in writing." "10,000?" I laughed. "They're $94,000 in debt to me, and they offer 10? It's probably all they could scrape together. Maybe maxed out a credit card or borrowed from Goldie's mother." Patricia called me Monday, accused me of trying to bankrupt them. Eric's expression hardened. "Amos, I need to ask. Are you certain about this? Once we proceed past this point, there's no easy way back. You'll likely never have a relationship with Joel again." I looked out the window at Portland's gray winter afternoon. People hurried past with umbrellas, clutching coffee cups, living their ordinary lives. He applauded Eric. While his wife degraded me, he clapped like I deserved it. That man isn't my son anymore. I don't know what he is, but he's not the boy I raised. Eric nodded slowly. "Then we proceed. I'll file a formal complaint in Multnomah County Circuit Court next week if they don't agree to reasonable terms. With your documentation, we'll win. Question is whether they'll settle or force it to trial." "What are the chances they settle?" "High. Webb knows he'll lose. Joel and Goldie know they'll lose. But pride makes people stupid. Goldie especially strikes me as someone who'd rather fight on principle than accept reality. So we might actually go to court." "Possibly, but even if we do, it's open and shut. 6 months maximum, probably less. Judge sees your evidence, rules in your favor, orders repayment. They either pay or we start seizing assets." Seizing assets, repossessing their furniture, their car, their condo equity. The life they'd built on my money, dismantled piece by piece. "Do it," I said. "File everything. No more warnings." Eric smiled. Not a happy smile, but a professional one. "Understood. One more thing you should know. I did some research on their finances. Joel's got a car loan at 18% interest, clearly predatory lending. Goldie's got 3 maxed-out credit cards totaling $32,000. Combined, they're paying about $4,000 monthly just in debt service. On their income, that's unsustainable. They're drowning. They're already drowned. They just haven't stopped kicking yet." We finished our coffee discussing legal strategy, timelines, potential outcomes. Eric laid out everything with clinical precision: filing fees, court dates, enforcement mechanisms. By the time I drove home, the winter sun was setting early, painting the sky deep purple. My phone had finally gone quiet. Joel had stopped calling. Goldie had stopped texting. The silence felt heavier than the noise had. That evening, I pulled out an old photo album, found a picture of Joel at his high school graduation, both of us smiling, my arm around his shoulders. He'd been so proud that day, so full of potential. Where had I gone wrong? Had I been too lenient, too generous, too trusting? Or had I simply loved someone who'd never learned to love me back? My phone buzzed once, a text from Inez, my neighbor. "Saw your son leaving your house earlier this week. He looked upset. Everything okay?" I typed back, "Just family business, nothing to worry about." "Well, if you need anything, I'm here." Also, funny story, I ran into Goldie at the gym yesterday. She was complaining about her father-in-law being difficult. I didn't say anything, but I thought of you. Hope she wasn't talking about you. She absolutely was talking about me. "Thanks, Inez. I appreciate you checking in." People were starting to notice the tension. Soon they'd be asking questions. Word would spread through our neighborhood, through Joel's workplace, through Goldie's social circles. The humiliation they'd served me at Christmas dinner was about to be returned with interest, and unlike them, I wouldn't need to spit in anyone's food to make my point. The 14-day deadline expired on a Thursday. I marked it on my calendar that morning, a simple red X through the date. Joel and Goldie had until midnight to respond with a reasonable settlement offer or payment plan. Eric had received nothing but silence since their lawyer's laughable $10,000 proposal. Silence, in legal terms, meant refusal. I made breakfast slowly, methodically. Scrambled eggs, toast, orange juice. The ritual of normal life while everything around me shifted into something new and irreversible. My phone rang at 8:15. Eric, right on schedule. They missed the deadline, he said without preamble. I'm filing the complaint with Multnomah County Circuit Court this afternoon. Case number should be assigned by tomorrow. You'll be officially suing your son for breach of contract and unjust enrichment. How long until it goes before a judge? Oregon's civil docket is surprisingly fast. Initial hearing probably 6 to 8 weeks. Full resolution within 4 to 6 months if they don't settle. But Amos, he paused. There's something else you should know. My grip tightened on the phone. What? Joel filed a police report yesterday. Claimed you're harassing him with threatening letters and phone calls. Officer came by my office this morning to ask questions. Heat flushed through my chest. I haven't called him once since the dinner. Every communication has been through you or formal mail. I know. I showed the officer our correspondence logs, explained the situation. He reviewed everything and closed the report as unfounded. But it shows their strategy. They're trying to paint you as the aggressor. Let them try. Documentation beats narrative every time. Exactly. Still, expect things to get nastier before they get better. Desperate people do desperate things. We hung up after discussing filing procedures and next steps. I sat in my kitchen feeling the weight of inevitability settle over everything. This was really happening. No turning back now. Around 10 a.m., someone knocked on my door, not pounding like Joel had done, but steady, persistent. I looked through the peephole. A woman in her 50s, professionally dressed, holding a clipboard. Mr. Palmer, my name is Sharon Vega. I'm a private investigator hired by Marcus Webb's office. I'd like to ask you some questions about your financial relationship with your son. A private investigator. They'd scraped together money for this, instead of paying what they owed. I opened the door just enough to speak through the gap. All questions go through my attorney, Thornton and Associates. The number is public record. Sir, I'm just trying to establish facts. If you could spare 5 minutes, no, leave my property or I'll call the police for trespassing. She didn't move. Mr. Palmer, I've spoken with several of your neighbors. They say you've seemed angry and withdrawn lately. Some expressed concern about your mental state. My mental state. They were building a narrative that I was unstable, vindictive, possibly unfit. Ms. Vega, I'm a 62-year-old retired educator with no criminal record, excellent credit, and strong ties to this community. My mental state is fine. My tolerance for people who insult me and refuse to repay debts is low. There's a difference. Now leave. I closed the door. She knocked again. I ignored it. 5 minutes later, she was gone. I immediately called Eric and told him what happened. They're fishing, he said, trying to find anything they can use. Stay calm. Don't engage with anyone they send. Document everything. This actually works in our favor. Shows they're scrambling instead of negotiating in good faith. That afternoon, I decided to go for a walk. Get out of the house, clear my head. I drove to Laurelhurst Park, a place Joel and I used to visit when he was young. We'd feed ducks at the pond, play on the playground, talk about everything and nothing. I sat on a bench overlooking the water, watching a young father push his daughter on the swings. Her laughter carried across the park, pure and uncomplicated. Joel used to laugh like that. My phone buzzed. Text from Inez. Amos, I hate to bother you, but I think you should know. Goldie came to my open house yesterday, started asking questions about you. Wanted to know if you'd seemed unstable or made threats against your son. I told her you've always been kind and helpful to me. She didn't like that answer, just thought you should be aware. So, they weren't just hiring investigators, they were personally trying to turn my neighbors against me. I texted back, thank you for letting me know, Inez, and thank you for being honest with her. Of course. Also, this might sound strange, but she asked if I knew how much your house was worth. Said something about you claiming to be broke while living in expensive property. I didn't tell her anything, but it seemed odd. They were researching my assets, probably planning to claim I had plenty of money and was being cruel by demanding repayment. I appreciate you not discussing my private information with her, I wrote. Never would. You helped me when I needed it. I won't forget that. Small kindnesses, returning when I needed them most. That evening I received an email from Marcus Webb. The subject line read, Urgent Final Settlement Offer. Inside, Mr. Palmer, my clients recognize there may have been miscommunication regarding the nature of funds provided to them. In the interest of family harmony and avoiding costly litigation, they offer the following. Immediate payment of $15,000, followed by $500 monthly payments until the balance is satisfied. This represents good faith and responsibility. We urge you to accept and end this unfortunate situation. Failure to accept will result in counterclaims for defamation, emotional distress, and elder harassment. I read it twice, laughed out loud. 15,000 now, 500 monthly. At that rate, they'd finish paying in 13 years. They'd be 50 years old by the time the debt was cleared. And the threats, defamation, emotional distress, elder harassment, all baseless, all desperate. I forwarded the email to Eric with one word: no. His response: agreed, I'll file tomorrow morning. Court date should be set within 2 weeks. Get ready. They're about to learn what real legal pressure feels like. Friday morning arrived cold and rainy, typical Portland winter weather, gray and relentless. I made coffee, checked my email, tried to focus on normal routines. At 11 a.m., my doorbell rang again. This time, I recognized the vehicle in my driveway, Joel's Tesla. Both Joel and Goldie stood on my porch, looking worse than I'd ever seen them. Joel's eyes were red-rimmed, exhausted. Goldie's designer appearance had cracked. No makeup, hair pulled back messily, wearing a plain sweatshirt. I opened the door but stood in the doorway, blocking entry. "We need to talk," Joel said. His voice cracked slightly. "Please, Dad, just 5 minutes. All communication goes through attorneys now. You know that." "To hell with the attorneys," Goldie snapped. "This has gone far enough. You're destroying us over money." "You destroyed yourselves. I'm just collecting what's owed." Joel held up his hands, pleading. "Dad, we'll take the deal. Webb's offer. 15,000 now, 500 a month. We'll sign anything. Just please, call off the lawsuit." "Where did you get $15,000? They exchanged glances. Joel answered quietly. "Goldie's mother. She took out a loan against her house. Patricia mortgaging her home to save her daughter from consequences, enabling the same behavior that created this mess." "So you're willing to drag her down with you?" "We're desperate," Goldie's voice went shrill. "The lawsuit filing goes public record. Joel's boss will see it. My job applications will be affected. You're ruining our entire future. You ruined your own future when you spit in my dinner and my son applauded. This is just the bill coming due. One mistake," Joel shouted. "One bad night and you're willing to destroy us." I stepped forward, looked my son directly in the eyes. "Joel, it wasn't one night. It was 3 years of using me. 3 years of broken promises. 3 years of treating me like a wallet with legs. The dinner was just when I finally saw clearly who you'd become. I'm still your son. Biologically, yes. But the son I raised would never have treated me the way you have. So no, I don't accept your settlement. No, I won't drop the lawsuit. And no, I won't continue funding a lifestyle you can't afford while you treat me like garbage." Goldie's face twisted with rage. "You miserable old—" "Careful," I interrupted. "I'm recording this conversation on my doorbell camera. Anything you say can be used in court, especially threats or harassment." She froze. Joel grabbed her arm, pulled her back slightly. "Dad, please." His voice broke completely. "I'm begging you. We'll lose everything. Then you'll know how I felt at that dinner, except I only lost my dignity. You'll lose your credit, your house, your reputation. Seems fair to me." I stepped back inside and closed the door, locked it, stood there listening to them on the other side. Goldie was crying now, ugly sobs that sounded genuine for the first time. Joel said something I couldn't make out. Footsteps retreated, car doors slammed, engine started. Through the window, I watched the Tesla pull away slowly, almost hesitantly, like Joel hoped I'd run out and stop him. I didn't. My phone rang immediately. Eric's name. "I just filed the complaint," he said. "It's official. You're now the plaintiff in Palmer v. Palmer. Initial hearing is scheduled for the last week of January. Judge Morrison presiding. She's tough but fair. Doesn't tolerate nonsense from either side. They were just here, begging me to accept their settlement." "What did you tell them?" "No." Silence. Then, "Good. They had their chance. Multiple chances. Now they face real consequences." "How do you feel?" How did I feel? Sad, angry, relieved, vindicated, guilty, certain. "Like I'm doing the right thing," I said finally. "You are. Trust me, Amos. You absolutely are." After we hung up, I sat in my living room as afternoon faded to evening. Rain drummed steadily on the roof. Somewhere across Portland, Joel and Goldie were realizing their world had just collapsed. Part of me, the father part, the part that remembered a laughing 8-year-old with a science fair trophy, wanted to call them back, say it was okay, forgive everything. But the larger part, the part that had been disrespected and used and degraded, stayed quiet. Justice isn't always gentle. Sometimes it's cold, methodical, and absolutely necessary. My son was about to learn that lesson the hard way, and I was going to make sure he never forgot it. 3 weeks passed like water through cupped hands. January brought freezing rain and a strange numbness that settled over my daily routine. I volunteered at the Multnomah County Library on Tuesdays and Thursdays, shelving books and helping patrons navigate the computer system. Small acts of normalcy while my life transformed behind the scenes. Eric texted me updates regularly. The court date was confirmed for late January. Marcus Webb had filed a motion to dismiss, promptly denied. Joel and Goldie had attempted to subpoena my bank records. Eric blocked it as a fishing expedition. They were fighting, but badly, desperately. I was at the library on a Tuesday afternoon when Inez appeared in the history section. She browsed the shelves casually, but I could tell she had something to say. "Fancy meeting you here," she said, pulling out a book on the Oregon Trail. "I volunteer twice a week, have for years." "I didn't know that," she lowered her voice. "I also didn't know you were some kind of real estate genius. Ran into a colleague yesterday who mentioned you helped her buy a duplex in Selwood back in the day. Said your advice made her $50,000 in appreciation. News was spreading. People were connecting dots. I did some consulting work, nothing fancy. Amos." She looked at me directly. "Your daughter-in-law came to my office yesterday, actually paid for a consultation. Wanted me to research property ownership records under your name. I told her I couldn't discuss client information, even if you weren't technically my client. She offered me $200 cash to just confirm what you owned." My chest tightened. "What did you do?" "Told her to leave, but Amos, she seemed obsessed, kept saying you were hiding assets while claiming poverty, that you were manipulating your son. She's building some kind of case against you. She's desperate. People say crazy things when they're desperate." Inez hesitated, then reached into her purse, pulled out a business card. "This is my friend who's a forensic accountant. If they try to paint you as financially deceptive, you might need someone who can demonstrate the legitimacy of your holdings, just in case." I took the card. Sarah Brennan, CPA, CFE, Certified Fraud Examiner. "Thank you, Inez. You helped me when I was struggling. Only fair, I returned the favor." She glanced around, then whispered, "Also, between you and me, your daughter-in-law is making herself look terrible around town. Word spreads in Portland real estate circles. Everyone knows she's harassing people for information on her father-in-law. It's not a good look." After she left, I sat in the library's reading room, watching rain streak down the windows. Goldie was unraveling, taking Joel down with her. The question was how far they'd fall before they stopped fighting gravity. That evening, I met Eric at a Thai restaurant on Hawthorne. We sat in a corner booth, away from other diners. "I have news," he said, sliding a folder across the table. "The private investigator they hired, Sharon Vega, she submitted her findings to Webb's office. I got a copy through Discovery. And it's hilarious." Eric grinned. "She interviewed 12 of your neighbors, 3 former colleagues, and 2 people from the library. Know what they all said? That you're kind, helpful, community-minded, and never speak badly about anyone, including Joel. Not one person had anything negative to report. So their investigation backfired. Spectacularly. But here's the interesting part." He opened the folder. "Vega did find information about your property holdings. She's good at her job, I'll give her that. Found public records showing you own 4 properties across Portland, valued at approximately $2.8 million combined." I felt my stomach drop. They know. They know you own valuable real estate. They don't know the full extent of your investment portfolio, pension, or liquid assets. But yes, they know you're not the broke retiree they assumed. How will they use it? Eric leaned back confident. "They'll try to claim you're wealthy, and therefore suing them maliciously, not out of genuine financial need. But that's legally irrelevant. You loan them money with expectation of repayment. Your financial status doesn't change their obligation to repay. If anything, it undermines their narrative that you're unstable or acting irrationally. Will the judge care that I have money? Not even slightly. This isn't about need. It's about contract law and breach of agreement. You could be a billionaire, and they'd still owe you what they borrowed. We ordered food and discussed strategy while rain hammered the windows. Eric explained how the hearing would proceed, what questions I might face, how Webb would likely attack my credibility. "He'll try to make you look vindictive," Eric said. "Rich old man punishing his son over petty grievances. Don't take the bait. Stay calm, factual. Let the documentation speak for itself." "I can do that." "I know you can. You're a teacher. You've dealt with hostile parents, difficult administrators. This is just another classroom management situation." I smiled despite the tension. "Except the stakes are higher, much higher. But Amos, you need to prepare yourself. When we present evidence showing your net worth, Joel's going to realize what he threw away. Not just the money, the inheritance he would have received. That moment might be brutal." I thought about the new will Eric had drafted. $50,000 to Joel, the rest to charity and education funds. Joel would have inherited close to $3 million if he'd just treated me with basic respect. "He made his choices," I said quietly. The weekend brought an unexpected visitor. Saturday morning, someone knocked tentatively on my door. I looked through the peephole and saw Joel's paternal grandmother, his late mother's mother, Ruth Palmer. I opened the door immediately. "Ruth, this is a surprise." She was 78, small and fragile-looking, but sharp as ever. "Amos, may I come in? I brought banana bread." We sat in my kitchen, the same kitchen where I'd raised Joel, where Ruth had visited countless times over the decades. She cut slices of bread with practiced ease. "Joel called me," she said without preamble. "He's very upset. Says you're suing him for nearly $100,000. $94,000, yes. Is it true he owes you that much?" I pulled out my phone, showed her the documentation Eric had prepared, bank transfers, text messages, email confirmations, every loan, every promise to repay, every broken commitment. Ruth read carefully, her expression hardening. "That foolish boy. He's your grandson. I understand if you want to defend him." "Defend him?" She set down her coffee cup sharply. "Amos, when you married my daughter, I told her she'd chosen well. A good man, a smart man, someone who'd be a wonderful father. You proved me right every day for 30 years. Even after she passed, you raised Joel beautifully. Sent him to college, supported his dreams, never remarried because you were so focused on being a good parent." Her eyes filled with tears. "And this is how he repays you? By letting that woman spit in your dinner while he applauds? I'm ashamed of him." "Ruth, you don't have to." "Yes, I do. Joel came to my house last week. Wanted me to talk to you, convince you to drop the lawsuit. Said you were being cruel and unreasonable. I told him I'd think about it." She looked at me steadily. "Now I've thought about it. My answer is no. You're doing the right thing, Amos. That boy needs to learn respect, and apparently the only language he understands anymore is consequences." We sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then she added, "I also wanted you to know, I won't be giving Joel any money to settle this debt. He asked for $20,000. I refused. Whatever happens to him now is his own doing." After Ruth left, I felt lighter somehow, validated, one more person who saw the truth clearly. Monday morning brought the discovery I'd been half expecting, half dreading. An article appeared in the Willamette Week, Portland's alternative newspaper, a small piece in the local news section. "Family lawsuit raises questions about elder financial abuse. In reverse?" The article was brief, carefully worded to avoid libel. It mentioned a lawsuit filed by a 62-year-old retired educator against his son and daughter-in-law for $94,000 in unpaid loans. It quoted an anonymous source close to the defendants, claiming the plaintiff was wealthy and using the courts to harass family members over old grievances. Eric called me within minutes of the article posting online. "Did you see it?" "Just read it. They leaked to the press, trying to control the narrative, make you look bad publicly, but it's going to backfire." "How?" "Because now it's public record that you loaned them nearly $100,000. People will research the case. They'll see your documentation versus their excuses. And Amos, Portland's a small community. People talk. This article just made sure everyone in your social circles knows what Joel and Goldie did." He was right. By Tuesday afternoon, my phone had 3 messages from former teaching colleagues expressing support. One from the library director, offering to write a character reference if needed. two from neighbors I barely knew, saying they had read about the situation and were on my side. The public humiliation Joel and Goldie had tried to inflict on me had reversed course, heading straight back toward them like a boomerang made of karma. Wednesday brought the most interesting development. Eric forwarded me an email from Marcus Webb, marked Urgent Settlement Proposal. Mr. Thornton, my clients have reconsidered their position. They acknowledge receipt of funds totaling $94,000 and agree to repay in full. They propose $25,000 immediate payment, remaining balance of $69,000 in monthly installments of $1,500 over 46 months. In exchange, your client drops all claims and agrees to confidential settlement terms, prohibiting public discussion of the matter. Please advise by Friday. I read it twice. $25,000 up front. Probably depleted Patricia's home equity loan and maxed out whatever credit they had left. What do you think? I texted Eric. It's better than their previous offers, but still inadequate. 46 months is too long, and the confidentiality clause is suspicious. They want to bury this quietly. I say we counter. $50,000 up front, remaining $44,000 over 24 months at $2,000 monthly. No confidentiality. Take it or see you in court. Send it. Eric's counterproposal went out Thursday morning. Webb's response came back in under 3 hours. Clients cannot meet these terms. See you at the hearing. So, we were going to court, really truly going through with this. The hearing was now just 5 days away. I should have felt nervous, anxious, uncertain. Instead, I felt calm, clear, ready. Joel and Goldie had spent 3 years underestimating me, treating me like a simple old man who existed only to fund their ambitions. They were about to discover exactly how wrong they'd been. The Multnomah County Courthouse sat downtown on SW Main Street, a stern concrete building that had witnessed decades of Portland's legal battles. I arrived 40 minutes early, dressed in a simple navy suit I'd bought for parent-teacher conferences years ago. Eric met me in the lobby, sharp in charcoal gray, carrying a leather briefcase that probably cost more than my entire outfit. Ready? As I'll ever be. Remember, stay calm, answer questions directly, don't volunteer extra information. The judge will see through any theatrics from Webb. Just be yourself. We took the elevator to the 3rd floor, courtroom 3B. Outside, Joel and Goldie sat on a bench with Marcus Webb between them. Joel wore an ill-fitting suit that looked borrowed. Goldie had overdressed in designer clothes that screamed trying too hard. They both looked exhausted, hollowed out. Joel caught my eye for a moment. I saw something there, recognition maybe, understanding that this was real. Then he looked away, jaw clenched. Webb approached Eric with forced confidence. Last chance to settle reasonably before we embarrass your client in there. Eric smiled pleasantly. See you inside, Marcus. Judge Andrea Morrison presided, a woman in her mid-50s with steel-gray hair and an expression that suggested she'd heard every excuse imaginable and believed none of them. Her reputation preceded her, fair but ruthless with time-wasters. Palmer versus Palmer, she announced, reviewing her notes. Case number 25CV0147. This is a hearing on plaintiff's claim for breach of contract and unjust enrichment in the amount of $94,000. Mr. Thornton, you may proceed. Eric stood, professional and precise. Your Honor, this case is straightforward. My client, Amos Palmer, provided substantial financial assistance to his son, Joel Palmer, and daughter-in-law, Goldie Palmer, over a 3-year period. The defendants characterized these transfers as loans, promised repayment, and have refused to honor those commitments. We have documentation proving every claim. He presented exhibits methodically, bank statements showing transfers, text messages where Joel wrote, "I'll pay you back, Dad, I promise," and "Thanks for the loan." Emails discussing repayment schedules that never materialized. Judge Morrison examined each document carefully. Mr. Webb, what's your response to this evidence? Webb stood, and I could already see the weakness in his posture. Your Honor, my clients maintain these were gifts given voluntarily by a father to his son. The word loan was used casually in family conversation, not as legally binding language. Mr. Palmer never requested formal repayment until recently, when a family dispute arose. This is clearly retaliatory litigation following a personal disagreement. A personal disagreement? Judge Morrison's eyebrow raised slightly. Please elaborate. Webb hesitated. Goldie leaned forward, whispering urgently to him. He straightened. There was an incident at a family dinner where emotions ran high. My clients believe Mr. Palmer is using the legal system to punish them for... For what exactly? The judge interrupted. For expressing frustration with his behavior. Eric stood immediately. Your Honor, may I present additional context? At the judge's nod, Eric introduced the doorbell camera footage from the Christmas dinner. My front porch camera had captured Joel and Goldie's arrival, their hostile body language, and crucially, their departure, where Goldie could be heard shouting about how I deserved worse than spit. The courtroom went silent as the audio played. Judge Morrison's expression remained neutral, but I saw her fingers tighten slightly on her pen. Mr. Webb, are you suggesting your client's admission to spitting in the plaintiff's dinner somehow justifies not repaying documented loans? No, Your Honor. I'm simply providing context for why. Context noted. Continue, Mr. Thornton. Eric then did something I hadn't expected. He called me to the stand. I walked up, got sworn in, sat down feeling oddly calm. Mr. Palmer, Eric began gently, can you describe your relationship with your son prior to these financial transactions? I took a breath. We were close. After his mother passed when he was 16, it was just us. I supported him through college, helped him start his career, attended his wedding. I loved him. Still do, actually. And why did you provide these funds? Because he asked, because he's my son, because I wanted to help him build a good life. Did you ever indicate these were gifts rather than loans? No. Joel specifically used the word loan in almost every request. He promised repayment. I believed him. Eric showed me printouts of text messages. Is this your son writing, Dad, I'll pay you back next month. I swear on Mom's memory? My throat tightened seeing that particular message. Joel had invoked his dead mother to make a promise he never intended to keep. Yes, that's Joel. Did he pay you back that month? No, or any month after. Webb's cross-examination was predictably weak. Mr. Palmer, isn't it true you have substantial assets including property worth nearly $3 million? I own property, yes. So, you don't actually need this money, do you? You're wealthy. My financial status doesn't change the fact that a loan should be repaid. If I lend someone my car, they return it whether I own 1 car or 10. Webb's face reddened slightly. But you hid your wealth from your son. You let him think you were struggling. I lived modestly and saved wisely. I never lied about my finances. Joel never asked, and I saw no reason to advertise. My late wife and I built that portfolio through careful planning over decades. It was meant to be Joel's inheritance. I paused. Before he decided I was worthless. Objection, Your Honor, Webb said weakly. Emotional appeal. Overruled. The plaintiff is describing his motivation. Continue, Mr. Palmer. I looked directly at Joel for the first time since taking the stand. I was going to leave him everything. The properties, the investments, everything I'd built. He would have been set for life. But he treated me like an ATM, and when I finally stopped dispensing cash, his wife spit in my food and he applauded. Joel's face had gone white. Goldie's too. They were doing the math in real time, realizing what they'd thrown away. So, you changed your will? Webb asked, trying to sound accusatory. Yes, he'll receive $50,000. The rest goes to educational charities and community programs that will appreciate it more than he did. The courtroom was absolutely silent. Judge Morrison called a 15-minute recess. Eric and I stepped into the hallway. Through a window, I could see Joel and Goldie in heated discussion with Webb, Goldie's hands waving frantically, Joel's head in his hands. That went well, Eric said quietly. Is it over? Not yet. Webb will put them on the stand, let them tell their story. But honestly, you've already won, the judge knows it, they know it. This is just procedure now. After the recess, Webb called Joel to testify. My son walked to the stand, looking like he'd aged 10 years and 10 minutes. Mr. Palmer, Webb began, did you understand these funds from your father to be loans or gifts? Joel's voice was barely audible. I thought, he never made me sign anything, never charged interest, never set firm deadlines. It felt like family help. Family help that you promised to repay? Eric interjected on cross-examination. I meant to. I planned to. But you didn't. In fact, you borrowed more instead. $94,000 over 3 years, and not $1 repaid. That's not planning to repay, that's planning to take. Joel had no answer. Goldie's testimony was worse. She tried to play the victim, the struggling young wife trying to build a life with limited resources. But Eric destroyed her with a single question. Mrs. Palmer, if you were struggling financially, why did you spend $32,000 on designer clothing and cosmetic procedures during the same period you were borrowing from your father-in-law? She stammered. Those were investments in my career. Professional appearance matters in marketing. More than repaying debts, more than basic integrity. Judge Morrison cut off Goldie's attempt to answer. I've heard enough. Step down, Mrs. Palmer. Closing arguments were brief. Eric summarized the evidence cleanly. Webb tried to appeal to family values and forgiveness. Then Judge Morrison delivered her ruling. This court finds in favor of the plaintiff. The evidence overwhelmingly demonstrates that loans were made with clear expectation of repayment, which the defendants have refused to honor. The defendants are hereby ordered to pay the plaintiff $94,000 in principal, plus $8,200 in court costs and attorney fees, plus $12,400 in interest calculated at Oregon's legal rate over the 3-year period. Total judgment, $114,600. Goldie gasped audibly. Joel closed his eyes. The defendants have 60 days to satisfy this judgment in full or establish a court-approved payment plan of no less than $3,000 monthly. Failure to comply will result in wage garnishment and asset seizure. This court is adjourned. The gavel struck. We'd won. Outside the courtroom, Eric shook my hand. Congratulations, clean victory. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I felt hollow. Across the hallway, Joel sat alone on a bench while Goldie argued viciously with Webb about his incompetence. My son looked broken, defeated. Our eyes met one last time before I left. I wanted to say something, anything, but what was there to say? He'd made his choices. Now he'd live with them. I walked out of the courthouse into cold January rain, leaving behind the sun I'd raised and the stranger he'd become. February arrived with the kind of cold that settled into your bones and refused to leave. I spent the first week after the judgment trying to return to normal routines. Library volunteering, morning walks, cooking simple meals for one. But normal felt different now. Lighter, somehow. The weight I'd carried for 3 years had lifted, replaced by something closer to peace. Eric called me on a Wednesday morning. They missed the first payment deadline. Already, judgment required them to start payments within 30 days, or submit a payment plan proposal. They've done neither. I'm filing for wage garnishment and asset seizure. I sat down at my kitchen table, feeling the finality of it. What happens now? Oregon law allows us to garnish 25% of Joel's wages until the debt is satisfied. We can also place liens on any property or vehicles they own. Given their financial situation, the condo will likely need to be sold. How long will it take to fully collect? Probably 4 years with wage garnishment alone. But the sale of the condo could knock out a significant chunk immediately. Their equity position is about $70,000 after the mortgage. That leaves roughly $45,000 still owed, which we'd collect via garnishment at roughly $600 per paycheck. $600 per paycheck. Joel would be working to pay me back for years. Every 2 weeks, seeing that deduction, remembering why. Proceed with everything, I said. One more thing. Goldie filed for divorce yesterday. Multnomah County records show she's citing irreconcilable financial differences as the primary cause. I felt a grim satisfaction at that news. They were turning on each other, exactly as predicted. When the money dried up, so did Goldie's loyalty. How's Joel taking it? According to the filing, she moved out last week. She's staying with her mother. Joel's alone in the condo. My guess? She's trying to separate her finances from his before the real asset seizure begins. Smart, actually, if morally bankrupt. That afternoon, Inez texted me. Saw your son at Fred Meyer this morning. He looked terrible, Amos, buying ramen and cheap beer. I almost didn't recognize him. Just thought you should know. Ramen and cheap beer. The Tesla was probably already repossessed or close to it. The designer lifestyle reduced to college student rations. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I felt old. 2 weeks later, the foreclosure notice went up on Joel's condo. I heard about it from Inez again, who heard about it from another real estate agent who'd seen the listing. The condo would be auctioned in 60 days unless Joel could satisfy the judgment. He couldn't. Everyone knew he couldn't. I was at the library on a Thursday afternoon when I saw Joel for the first time since the courthouse. He stood near the reference section, looking thinner, wearing a cheap jacket I didn't recognize. For a moment, I thought about hiding, avoiding the confrontation. But I was tired of hiding. I walked over. Joel. He turned, and the look on his face nearly broke me. Shame, exhaustion, something that might have been relief at seeing me. Dad. His voice cracked on the word. I didn't know you volunteered here. 15 years now, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Awkward silence stretched between us. Finally, I saw the garnishment notice on my paycheck, 25%. Oregon law allows it. Yeah, my boss called me in, asked about it. I had to explain that my father is suing me. That was fun. He laughed bitterly. Actually, no. I got written up for personal issues affecting professional reputation. I'm probably getting fired soon. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? He looked at me directly for the first time. Are you really sorry, Dad? Because from where I'm standing, this is exactly what you wanted. Me destroyed. Goldie gone. Everything I built, gone. What you built was on my money, Joel. It was never really yours. The condo is being foreclosed on because you can't pay what you owe. Actions have consequences. His jaw clenched. You know what the worst part is? I found out you're worth millions. Millions, Dad. And you let me struggle, let me borrow, let me think you were just a poor teacher barely getting by. You lied. I never lied. You never asked. You saw what you wanted to see, a wallet you could drain whenever convenient. That's not fair. Neither is spitting in someone's dinner while your son applauds. But here we are. Joel flinched like I'd slapped him. I apologized for that. No, you didn't. You've never once actually apologized. You've explained, justified, blamed me for overreacting. But apologize? No. He opened his mouth, closed it. Couldn't find words. Goldie left you, I said quietly. I heard. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. Took her clothes and whatever she could carry. Left me with the furniture we can't afford and a lease we can't break. Real classy. You chose her over me, Joel, remember? At that dinner, when she disrespected me and you backed her. You chose. I know. His voice dropped to barely a whisper. I know I did, and I've thought about that every single day since. Dad, He stopped, tears forming. I don't know how to fix this. You can't. Some things, once broken, stay broken. So that's it? You're just done with me forever? I looked at my son, 38 years old, crying in a public library, his life in ruins largely of his own making. Part of me wanted to comfort him, tell him it would be okay, offer help like I always had. But the larger part, the part that had learned painful lessons about respect and boundaries, stayed firm. Joel, I spent 38 years being your father, supporting you, loving you, sacrificing for you. When your mother died, I could have remarried, started over. I didn't. I focused on you, made you my whole world, and you treated me like a disposable resource. I was wrong. I see that now. You see it because you're facing consequences, not because you actually understand what you did wrong. There's a difference. How do I prove I understand? You don't prove it to me. You prove it to yourself. Get your life together without my help. Learn to stand on your own. Maybe in a few years, if you've actually changed, we can talk. But right now, I don't recognize you as the son I raised. I turned to walk away. Joel's voice stopped me. The inheritance, the money you were going to leave me. Is it really gone? I looked back. Almost all of it. You'll get $50,000. The rest goes to kids who actually want to learn, who appreciate education, who understand that opportunities are gifts, not entitlements. His face crumpled completely. I threw away millions. No, Joel, you threw away something more valuable than money. You threw away me. I left him standing there and walked back to the circulation desk. My hands shook slightly as I scanned returned books, but I kept working, focused on the simple task. Behind me, I heard Joel leave quietly. No dramatic exit. Just the soft sound of the library door closing. That evening, Eric called with an update. The condo sold at auction this afternoon. went for $375,000. After the mortgage payoff and fees, Joel cleared about $68,000. That money goes directly toward your judgment. Remaining balance is now $46,600. How long to collect the rest? At the garnishment rate, about 3 years. Joel's also required to file quarterly financial disclosures with the court to ensure he's not hiding assets or income. He's essentially under financial supervision until this is paid off. 3 more years of Joel working to pay back what he stole. 3 years of quarterly reminders that he'd destroyed our relationship over greed and pride. There's more, Eric continued. Goldie's divorce petition includes a clause where she's trying to claim Joel defrauded her about his family's wealth. She wants him to pay her legal fees and provide spousal support because she relied on false representations about family resources. I almost laughed. She's blaming him for my money? Essentially. She's arguing that if she'd known his father was wealthy, she would have made different financial decisions. It's absurd legally, but personally, it's destroying Joel. His wife is publicly stating she only married him for access to money that wasn't even his. The complete humiliation was almost artistic in its thoroughness. Job in jeopardy, home gone, wife gone, father gone, financial freedom gone for years. Joel had nothing left except the consequences of his choices. March brought unexpected news. Inez appeared at my door on a Saturday morning with fresh-baked cookies and information. "I shouldn't tell you this," she said, settling into my kitchen, "but I think you'd want to know. Joel got fired yesterday. My friend works in HR at his company. They let him go for repeated performance issues. Apparently he's been distracted, missing deadlines, showing up late. So now he has no income for the garnishment." "Exactly, which means he'll need to find new employment fast, or the court will hold him in contempt. But here's the thing, his reputation in Portland logistics circles is trash now. Everyone knows about the lawsuit, the divorce, the foreclosure. He's basically unhireable in his field." I absorbed this information slowly. "What's he doing?" "Last I heard, he got a job as an Uber driver. Makes maybe $3,000 a month if he works constantly. Barely enough to cover rent on the studio apartment he moved into in Gresham. From $68,000 a year to $3,000 a month. From a condo in Hawthorne to a studio in Gresham. From a Tesla to a used Corolla, he was probably driving for Uber. The fall had been comprehensive and brutal." "How do you feel about it?" Inez asked gently. "Honestly, I don't know anymore. Relieved, sad, vindicated, guilty, all of it at once." "That sounds normal. He's still your son." "Is he? Sometimes I wonder if I ever really knew him at all." That night, I sat on my porch watching the neighborhood settle into evening. Families came home from work. Kids played in yards. Normal life continued around me, while my own life had transformed into something unrecognizable. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Dad, it's Joel. New phone. Lost the other one. Couldn't afford the bill. I know you said we can't talk, but I needed to tell you something. I got fired. Lost everything. Living in a 400 SQFT box and driving drunk strangers around Portland at night. This is rock bottom. And you know what? You were right. About all of it. I threw away something priceless because I was too stupid and greedy to see its value. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know. I finally understand. Jay." I read it 3 times, didn't respond. Some lessons need to sit in silence before they truly sink in. Spring arrived slowly in Portland. April brought longer days and texts from Joel. I didn't answer, but saved. Got a second job, night shift warehouse work. Goldie's divorce finalized. She's engaged already. $300 garnished this paycheck, $46,000 to go. I deserve it, Eric noticed during coffee at Stumptown. "You're thinking about him? He's living in a studio, working 2 jobs, barely surviving. Where's the line between justice and cruelty? That's between you and your conscience." Days later, my phone rang. "Mr. Palmer, Steve Rodriguez from Hoffman Construction. Your son listed you as a reference for construction management." My heart jumped. "Is he okay?" "Fine, I found the court case, but he was honest about it. Can I trust him?" I thought carefully. He made terrible choices, but deep down, he knows right from wrong. He just forgot for a while. If you're asking whether he'll steal, no. Whether he's learned, he's trying. Thank you for your candor. 2 days later, Joel texted, "Got the job, $72,000. The manager said you gave a reference. Thank you, Dad. My first response in months. Congratulations. Work hard. I will, I promise. Your promises haven't meant much lately, Joel. I know. I'm changing that. Starting now. May brought Ruth Palmer to my door. Joel came to my house, begged to talk. He cried real tears, Amos, so I invited him in. He comes every Sunday now, helps with yard work, doesn't ask for money, just shows up. Do you think he's changed? I think he's trying. He asks about you every week. Late May, Eric called. Joel's paid $100,000 total. He's making extra payments voluntarily, $800 per check instead of $600. $100,000 in 5 months, through selling everything, working constantly, living in poverty. On Thursday evening, I drove to Gresham, found his studio apartment, number 214. I knocked. Joel answered holding instant ramen, nearly dropped it. Dad, can I come in? The studio was tiny, 400 square feet, mattress on floor, folding chairs, library books, clean, humble. He made tea with shaking hands. You've been making extra payments, I said. Yeah, I want this debt gone. Tell me about the job. His face lit up. Construction management, honest work, exhausting, but it feels clean. Like I'm earning what I make. I looked around. Quite a fall from Hawthorne. Yeah, but I sleep better here. No pretending. Goldie's engaged to some guy with a Porsche. I used to think she loved me. She just loved what I could provide. We sat in silence. Then Joel spoke quietly. Dad, I finally understand what you tried to teach me. Respect, integrity, that relationships matter more than money. I learned it the hardest way possible. I stood slowly. Joel's face fell. Instead, I extended my hand. Keep making payments. Keep showing up for Grandma Ruth. Keep being honest. Do that for 1 more year, and we'll talk about the rest. He shook my hand, tears streaming. I won't let you down. We'll see, I said. Actions, not words, Joel. Show me who you've become. I left, feeling something I hadn't felt in months. Hope. Summer transformed Portland. June brought warmth and regular text updates from Joel. Finished major project, boss says I'm doing great. Helped Grandma Ruth fix her fence. Paid extra, down to $28,000 remaining. $28,000. He'd paid $86,000 in 6 months. Eric noticed my hesitation. You're thinking about forgiving the rest. He's paid so much, transformed his life. At what point does justice become excessive? Make him finish what he started. Completion might mean more than the money. July 4th weekend, I ran into Goldie at Safeway. She looked different. Massive engagement ring, designer clothes, hardened expression. Amos, flat voice. Hi. Congratulations on the engagement. She glanced at her ring. Yeah, getting married in October. Guy named Richard. She stopped. Unlike Joel? Joel is obsessed with paying you back, works constantly, lives like a monk. It's pathetic. Pathetic to have integrity? You're torturing him. You're wealthy. You could forgive that debt. Joel borrowed money. Joel is repaying it. That's responsibility. He's wasting his life. He could be moving forward instead of stuck in the past, trying to earn your forgiveness. And jumping into bed with your boss 2 months after divorce is moving forward? Her face flushed. How dare you? You encourage Joel to treat me like garbage. You spit in my dinner. And now you lecture me about mercy? Between us, I'm doing fine. You're marrying your 3rd meal ticket because you've never learned to stand on your own. She turned and left, abandoning her cart. That evening, Joel texted, Heard about Safeway. Want to make sure you're okay. Goldie called ranting. I told her to leave you alone. What did she say? That I'm wasting my life. That you'll never forgive me. That I should declare bankruptcy. But she's wrong, Dad. This isn't about your approval anymore. It's about proving to myself I can finish what I start. Even if you never speak to me again, I'll know I did the right thing. He was doing this for himself now. That was growth. August brought news. Eric called excitedly. Joel won Employee of the Quarter, $5,000 bonus. Put it all toward the debt. Balance is now $23,000. There's more. He's being promoted to full construction manager. $85,000 salary. His boss called, said Joel is the most dedicated employee he's had in 20 years. I received a letter from Steve Rodriguez. In 30 years, I've rarely encountered someone with Joel's dedication and integrity. When I hired him, I knew about his difficulties. What impressed me was his honesty. He's exceeded every expectation. Whatever happened between you, he deserves recognition for who he's becoming. A stranger saw what I'd been too hurt to acknowledge. My son was genuinely changing. That weekend, Ruth invited me to Sunday dinner. Joel was already there cooking. He froze seeing me. "Dad, Grandma didn't mention you were coming." Ruth appeared innocently. "Must have slipped my mind. Set the table, you two." Over dinner, Ruth told childhood stories. Joel laughed, contributed details. It felt almost normal. As I left, Joel walked me to my car. "Dad, you gave Steve a reference when I first applied. That's the only reason he gave me a chance." "Why?" "Because I still believed the son I raised was in there somewhere. Turns out I was right." His eyes filled. "I'm going to make you proud." "Joel, stop swearing things. Just be the person you're capable of being. That's enough." Driving home, I made a decision. When the debt was paid, not before, I'd revise my will. Something meaningful, conditional, on sustained change. For the first time in a year, I could imagine a future where trust could be rebuilt. Eric called. "Joel made another payment. Balance is $18,400. He'll be debt-free before October ends." Before October, the one-year deadline I'd set. The year was almost over, and the real test was about to begin. October arrived with crisp air and leaves turning gold. On Tuesday morning, Eric called. "It's done. Joel made the final payment yesterday. $114,600. 9 months total. I've never seen anything like it." I sat down slowly. "It's really finished?" "Filing satisfaction of judgment today. Joel's legally free." That evening, Joel called. "Dad, Eric told me it processed. I paid you back, every penny." "I know. Congratulations." "Dad, I spent 9 months in poverty, working 70 hours weekly, losing everything. And you were right about all of it. I needed to lose everything to understand what had value." "What did you learn?" "That respect isn't bought, that integrity matters more than appearances, that you still had enough faith to give me one last chance." "And I did it, Dad." "Yes, you did. So now what?" "What do you want?" Silence. Then quietly. "I want my father back. I want to earn the right to call you Dad again. I want Sunday breakfast like we used to. I want to prove the past 9 months are who I really am now. Come to my house Saturday, 10 a.m. Saturday, Joel arrived with bakery scones from Lovely's, lemon lavender, my favorite he'd remembered. Peace offering, though I know it doesn't fix anything. We sat in my living room. "I need to say something," Joel began. "Let me finish before you respond." I nodded. "That Christmas dinner, when Goldie spit in your plate and I clapped, that was my lowest moment. Not because of what happened after, but who I'd become. I chose her over you, chose appearances over substance, money over integrity, a woman who only loved what I could provide over the father who loved me unconditionally." Tears streamed down his face. "The condo, car, job, wife, none of that matters. What kills me is losing you. Throwing away a relationship with the best man I've ever known because I was too stupid to see its value." "Joel, please, I'm not asking you to forget or even forgive. I'm asking you to know I understand now. That character matters more than credit scores. That relationships are built on respect, not transactions. These past 9 months, living in that studio, working myself to exhaustion, I was happier than I'd been in years, because I was finally living with integrity." The room fell silent. "Are you finished?" I asked quietly. "Yes." I walked to my study, returned with a folder, set it between us. "What's that?" "Open it." He did. His hands shook reading. "This says I inherit 1.5 million. Dad, you said only 50,000. That was before you proved yourself, before 9 months of genuine change, before you showed me the son I raised was still there." I paused. "It's conditional, Joel. Maintain employment, continue therapy, stay humble and honest. If you backslide, it reverts to 50,000. But if you keep being who you've become, you'll be provided for." He stared, tears dropping onto pages. "I don't deserve this." "You don't, based on the past 3 years. But you've earned a second chance based on the past 9 months. Dad, I'm so sorry for everything. For Goldie, the disrespect, treating you like an ATM, for that applause, all of it. I know you are. Can you forgive me?" I thought carefully. Someday, yes, completely. But forgiveness isn't instant. It's a process. Right now, I'm proud of how you've rebuilt yourself. I'm willing to rebuild our relationship slowly, but full forgiveness takes time. Trust is earned brick by brick. I understand. I'll take whatever you're willing to give. Then here's what I offer. Sunday breakfasts, starting next week. We cook together, eat together, talk, no heavy conversations, just being father and son again. Can you do that? Every Sunday for the rest of my life. Let's start with 1 month. We sat eating scones, drinking coffee. Almost normal, almost right. What happened to Goldie? Married Richard last month. Big wedding. She sent me an invitation. I didn't go. Why not? Because I'm not that person anymore. I'm learning to be authentic instead of performative. That's growth. Yeah, it only cost everything to learn. He laughed ruefully. I saw her recently, at a restaurant with Richard, wearing designer everything. Looked miserable. I was heading to work in boots and company t-shirt. Should have felt jealous. Instead, I felt sorry for her. Why? She's still chasing what I learned to let go of. Appearance without substance. She'll never understand what she lost. We talked for 3 hours, about his job, plans, therapy, about Ruth bridging the gap, about Inez and her information gathering. As he left, Joel turned at the door. Dad, thank you for not giving up on me. You're my son, Joel. I couldn't give up completely. I won't waste this second chance. Stop promising, just live it. He hugged me. The first real hug in over a year. Strange, tentative, but genuine. After he left, Eric called confirming the will revisions. Inez texted she'd seen Joel leaving happy. I thought about the past 9 months, the lawsuit, watching my son lose everything and rebuild. The anger, satisfaction, guilt, hope. Had it been worth it? Looking at who he'd become, honest, humble, hardworking, authentic. Yes, absolutely. Sometimes love looks like mercy, sometimes like tough consequences. And sometimes, if you're lucky, like second chances earned through genuine change. Joel texted, "Thank you, Dad, for everything. See you Sunday. I'll bring coffee." Joel. I smiled and typed, "See you Sunday, son. Bring those lemon scones too." The story didn't have a perfect ending. We weren't magically healed. Trust would take years. But we had something better. We had real. And real was enough. Outside, October sunset painted Portland gold and amber. Somewhere across town, my son was probably working, saving money, living simply, building a life based on character instead of credit. I'd set out to teach him about respect and consequences. He'd taught me about the difference between punishment and redemption, revenge and restoration. Justice had been served. The debt was paid. And slowly, carefully, a father and son were finding their way back. That was victory enough. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.